Recorded Books presents Sinister Graves by Marcie R. Rendon, narrated by Isabella Lablanc. Hashtag Stolen Children. Hashtag MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. Cash sat in a battered fishing boat on murky floodwater that was headed to the Red River. The spring flood covered the valley as far to the east and west as she could see. Schools had closed. No one could get to church to pray. The prehistoric glacial lake Agassiz existed once again. What had been plowed fields of wheat and corn, soybeans and oats, potatoes and sugar beets were now an ice-cold snowmelt lake, 60 miles wide from one side of the valley to the other. Cash took a break from oaring, removed a mitten, and dipped her hand in the frigid water. If you got caught in the floodwaters, the freezing temperatures would kill you as fast or faster than the rushing water. She quickly pulled her hand back out, cupped it near her mouth, and blew warm air over her fingers. Even bundled up in a winter jacket, scarf, mittens, and a stocking cap pulled low over her ears, she still shivered in the cold. Al, a friend of one of the regular drinkers at the Casbah bar, was sitting in the rear of the boat. Cash carefully turned around on the seat, so she was facing him. He wasn't bad-looking. His hair wasn't as long as a hippie's, but not a short farmer buzz either. His skin said Indian. Cash guessed he was a Vietnam vet. As Al navigated the floodwaters, he would either drop the small motor into the water to move them along faster, or bring the motor up when the water was too shallow. At that point, he would oar with her. Just a week ago, the Red River Valley had been snow-covered. It had been a long winter with whiteout snowstorms that left 4-foot road drifts and piles of snow taller than the haystacks in the fields. Then there was one day warm enough for snowmelt. That's all it took. One day in the valley at 40 degrees, followed by 3 more days with temperatures that didn't drop below freezing. The Wild Rice River, with its headwaters on the far eastern shore of the ancient Lake Agassiz, carried the snowmelt down into the valley. And when the Wild Rice, along with 100 other small tributaries, rapidly flooded their banks, all the water moved in a murky rush to spill across the fields of the valley, the farms and towns, to join the muddy red snake that ran to the north. Farmers had scrambled to sandbag their barns to keep their cows safe before moving to bag their own homes. Then they rode tractors into town to fill more bags to lay around the perimeter of the small towns. The huge tractor tires kept their bodies safe above the floodwaters. Cash had spent 11 hours the day before throwing sandbags with a chain of humans. One end filled bags with sand, then 10 to 15 people passed the full bags to those at the end of the line, who laid the sandbags like bricks to create a dike in order to keep the river from flooding downtown Fargo. It was a rush against the forces of nature. It happened almost every year with the snowmelt. The only questions ever asked were how high would the water rise and how long it would stay. This year was one for the records. Water rose and rose. It overflowed the riverbanks, filled the fields, crept into barns and homes, and the streets of the towns that didn't sandbag fast enough. The floodwaters covered the land from the Red River Valley to Lake Winnipeg, way up north in Manitoba. Farmers prayed for the water to recede in days, not weeks. When Cash had arrived home after helping fill sandbags, she was so bone-weary she flopped into bed without getting undressed, and didn't wake until the incessant ringing of her landline woke her. No one except Wheaton ever called. What few friends she had given up on her ever answering her phone. Most just dropped by and hollered up at her apartment, or made the journey up the flight of stairs and knocked. But that early morning phone call rang and rang. It had stopped briefly, then started ringing again. Cash finally pushed herself off the bed and stumbled to the kitchen, where the beige rotary phone sat on the counter.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?